I'm a 911 dispatcher. After that call, I disconnected my phone and never answered another emergency. The call came at 11:47 p.m. I'd been working dispatch for 6 years, handled thousands of emergencies, domestic violence, robberies, medical crises, fires, suicides. You develop rhythm, professional voice, calm tone, extract information, dispatch help, move to next call. That's the job. Keep people alive until responders arrive. I was good at it. Senior dispatcher after 3 years, trained new hires, excellent stats, average handling time under 4 minutes, high accuracy, multiple commendations. I took pride in it. Every call mattered. Every second counted. 8 other dispatchers on duty that Wednesday night. Quiet shift, few traffic stops, 1 fender bender, resolved diabetic emergency. I reviewed training schedules when my headset beeped. Incoming call. I accepted. Started recording. 911, what's your emergency? The voice was female, mid-30s, speaking carefully. Too carefully. I need to report a gas leak at 4156 Oakmont Drive. I pulled up address verification. Ma'am, can you confirm that address? Brief pause. Yes, strong gas smell, very dangerous. Her tone felt wrong. Not panicked, not concerned, rehearsed. Real gas leak calls sound different. Fear, urgency, both. This woman sounded controlled, reading from script. My screen showed residential property, single-family home. Ma'am, are you at that location now? Another pause. Yes, in the kitchen. The smell is overwhelming. Background noise, television playing, no hissing gas, no environmental urgency. If there's a gas leak, evacuate immediately. Don't use electronics or switches. Can you leave right now? Her voice dropped. I can't leave. He won't let me. Training kicked in. Domestic situation. Gas leak was code. Is someone preventing you from leaving? 3 seconds silence, then quietly. Yes, he's in the other room. I told him I called about gas. I switched protocols. Started separate incident report. I'm going to help you. Can you answer yes or no? Yes. Immediate danger? Yes. Weapon involved? Pause. Not right now. How many people? Just him. You know this person? My husband. I typed rapidly. Domestic violence. Victim can't speak freely. Perpetrator present. Needed officers fast. I'm dispatching police now. They'll respond as gas leak but understand the real situation. Stay on the line. I don't know, he's coming back. Footsteps. Male voice asking who she called. She said gas company. His voice got louder. Angry. No gas leak. She's crazy. Stupid. Wasting time. I stayed silent. Listening. Recording. The man grabbed the phone. Heavy breathing. Who is this? Professional voice. County 911 dispatch. We received gas leak report at your address. Officers en route to investigate. He cursed. No gas leak. My wife is paranoid. Tell your officers don't come. Sir, we respond to all gas leak reports. County policy. Officers arriving shortly to verify safety. He hung up. I dispatched immediately. All units. Domestic violence at 4156 Oakmont. Female used gas leak as distress code. Male hostile. Approach with caution. Victim in immediate danger. 3 units acknowledged. Closest was Unit 23. Officer Derek Paulson. 5 minutes out. I monitored. Standard procedure. Wait for updates until officers arrive. 4 minutes passed. Unit 23 radioed. Dispatch, arriving at 4156 Oakmont. No visible disturbance. Making contact. I waited. Expected follow-up within 2 minutes. Officers knock, assess, interview parties separately, check injuries, make arrests if needed. 6 minutes passed. No update. I radioed. Unit 23, status? Static. Then Officer Paulson. Dispatch, false alarm. Resident confirms no gas leak, no emergency. Wife made mistake. Clearing scene. My stomach dropped. Unit 23, did you interview the female separately? Brief pause. Negative. Husband confirmed everything fine. Wife agreed. No signs of distress. Wrong. Everything wrong. Protocol required separate interviews. The wife had clearly indicated danger. Unit 23, I need you to speak with the female alone. She indicated threat on initial call. Paulson's voice had edge. Dispatch, I assessed the situation. No emergency exists. We're cleared. He terminated radio contact. I sat frozen. This violated every protocol. Separate interviews were mandatory on domestic calls, especially when victim used distress codes. I pulled up the call recording, listened again, her careful tone, the background confrontation, her stating clearly she couldn't leave. He wouldn't let her. Then officers arrive and suddenly everything's fine? No, I documented everything. Opened supervisor alert. My shift supervisor was Gary Brennan, 20-year veteran. He came to my station. What's the issue? I explained the call, the distress code, Paulson's refusal to interview separately. Brennan listened, frowned. You think Paulson missed something? I think he didn't follow protocol. She indicated immediate danger. Now suddenly she's fine? That doesn't happen. Brennan picked up the radio. Unit 23, Supervisor Brennan, return to 4156 Oakmont. Conduct separate interview with female resident per protocol. Silence. Then Paulson. Supervisor, that's unnecessary. I evaluated the situation thoroughly. Brennan's voice hardened. That wasn't a request, officer. Return to location now. Long pause. Understood. I listened to radio traffic. Unit 23 returning to Oakmont Drive. 12 minutes later, Paulson radioed. Dispatch, completed separate interview. Female states no emergency, no threat, apologizes for confusion. Clearing scene. I couldn't believe it. Brennan looked at me. Satisfied? I wasn't. Something was deeply wrong. But what could I do? Officers conducted interviews. Victim now stating no emergency. Legally nothing more we could do. Brennan returned to his station. I sat staring at my screen, thinking about her voice, her careful words, her fear. I made decision. Pulled officer personnel files. Derek Paulson. 8 years on force. Good record. Multiple commendations. No disciplinary issues. Married. Then I checked something else. Previous calls to 4,156 Oakmont. Found 3. All in past 18 months. 2 hang-up calls. 1 open line with audible argument. All received officer response. All cleared as no emergency. Every single response was Unit 23. Officer Derek Paulson. Same officer. Every time. Every domestic call to that address. Same officer responding. Same outcome. No emergency found. My hands started shaking. I pulled dispatch logs. Checked response assignments. Our system used geographic zones. Officers responded based on proximity. Random distribution. But 4,156 Oakmont had 4 calls in 18 months. All different times. Different shifts. Yet Derek Paulson responded every single time. That wasn't random. That was impossible statistically. I checked deeper. Found Paulson's response history. Over past 2 years, he'd responded to 73 domestic calls, normal for patrol officer. But 13 of those calls were to just 5 addresses. Same 5 addresses, repeatedly. Far outside normal distribution patterns. I pulled those addresses, ran names. 4 of the 5 had female residents matching domestic violence victim profiles, ages 28 to 41, all married or partnered. I felt sick. I accessed closed case files, found incident reports from those addresses. Every report written by Paulson. Every report concluding no emergency, no danger, situation resolved. Every single one. No arrests, no referrals, nothing. I needed someone to tell. But who? Brennan was my supervisor, but he'd accepted Paulson's word. I couldn't go to him without more proof. I looked at current calls. My shift ended in 40 minutes. I made copies of everything. Call recordings, dispatch logs, response patterns, case reports, saved to encrypted drive. Went home at 2 a.m. with evidence that scared me. Didn't sleep. Kept thinking about that woman's voice, her carefully controlled words, her fear, and Paulson showing up, again, like he always did. Next day I called in sick. Spent 14 hours researching. Found public records for the 5 addresses with repeated calls, property records, marriage licenses, court filings. Found 2 protective orders filed then withdrawn. Both properties where Paulson had multiple responses. Found 1 domestic violence arrest at different address. Different officer responded. Victim testified. Conviction. But the addresses Paulson responded to? Nothing. No arrests, no prosecutions, no protective orders that stuck. Clean records despite multiple emergency calls. I found something else. Derek Paulson's wife, Melissa Paulson. She'd filed for divorce 8 years ago. Filing was withdrawn 2 weeks later. I found the address she'd listed on filing. 4,156 Oakmont Drive. The address from my call. Paulson's wife lived there before they married. Property records showed ownership transferred to Jennifer Kessler 6 years ago. Jennifer Kessler. The woman who called 911 about gas leak. I pulled marriage license. Jennifer Kessler married Thomas Kessler 4 years ago. So Jennifer bought the house 2 years before marrying Thomas. House where Paulson's first wife lived during divorce filing. The connection was there. But what did it mean? I researched more. Found Thomas Kessler's employment. Security consultant, former police officer, retired 5 years ago. Worked same department as Paulson. Same precinct. Partners for 3 years before Kessler retired. Everything connected. Paulson and Kessler were former partners. Kessler lived at address where Paulson's wife once lived. Jennifer called 911 in distress. Paulson responded and cleared the scene, just like he'd done repeatedly at multiple addresses. I didn't understand the full picture yet, but I knew something was very wrong. I needed help. Someone outside the department. I called the county attorney's office, asked for domestic violence unit, connected to prosecutor named David Sterling. I explained carefully. I was 911 dispatcher, had concerning pattern of emergency calls being cleared by same officer. Possible protocol violations. Sterling listened. Do you have documentation? Yes. Call recordings, dispatch logs, response patterns. Bring them to my office tomorrow. Don't discuss this with anyone in your department. I agreed. Hung up. Felt relief and terror simultaneously. Relief someone would listen. Terror about what I was exposing. I went to Sterling's office next morning. Brought everything. He reviewed materials for 2 hours, asked detailed questions, finally looked up. This is extremely concerning. These response patterns are statistically impossible. The connections between addresses, the former partnership, this suggests systematic interference in domestic violence responses. He paused. But I need something more concrete. Evidence of actual crime, not just pattern anomaly. I understood. Pattern was suspicious, but not proof. What do you need? Sterling considered. We need to document Paulson actively interfering with legitimate emergency. We need victim testimony. We need something concrete. The woman who called last night, Jennifer Kessler, she indicated clear danger. He cleared the scene twice, claiming no emergency. That's concrete interference. Sterling shook his head. She told officers no emergency. Without her testimony that she was coerced or threatened, we have nothing. She has to be willing to speak. Then we need to contact her, without Paulson knowing. Sterling made calls, explained situation to domestic violence advocates. They agreed to attempt contact. Careful approach. No police involvement. Just advocates offering resources. 2 days later, advocate called Sterling. I was in his office. We made contact with Jennifer Kessler. She refused to speak, said everything was fine, denied any problems. She was terrified. We could see bruising on her arm, but she wouldn't admit anything. Sterling cursed. She's too afraid. We can't force her to talk. I felt defeated. So Paulson just keeps doing this? Keeps responding to calls and clearing scenes where women are in danger? Sterling looked grim. Without victim cooperation or direct evidence of crime, my hands are tied. I can't prosecute patterns. I left his office angry and helpless, returned to work that night, tried to focus on regular duties. But I kept thinking about Jennifer Kessler. Her careful voice, her fear, the bruising advocates saw. She was trapped and we couldn't help her. 3 weeks passed. I worked my shifts, monitored calls, watched for any calls to those 5 addresses. Nothing. Then, at 3:17 a.m. on Thursday, call came through. Different dispatcher answered initially. Medical emergency, 4156 Oakmont Drive. Female caller, breathing difficulty, can't speak properly. Ambulance dispatched. Then police for medical assist. I watched the screen. Unit 23 acknowledged response. Derek Paulson, again. I grabbed my supervisor. That address. That's the domestic violence case from 3 weeks ago. Same officer responding. Something's wrong. Supervisor radioed. Unit 23. Be advised this location has domestic violence history. Request additional unit for safety. Paulson responded. Negative dispatch. Medical emergency only. Wife is having panic attack. Husband called it in. Lie. The call came from female, not male. I checked. Supervisor looked at recording. He's wrong. Female called. We dispatched second unit. Unit 17. Officer named Christine Valdez. Unit 17. Respond to 4156 Oakmont as backup. Possible domestic situation. Valdez acknowledged. 8 minutes later, Paulson radioed. Dispatch, I'm on scene. Female having anxiety attack. Husband managing situation. Ambulance not needed. Canceling medical response. Before dispatch could respond, Unit 17 radioed. Dispatch, I'm arriving on scene now. Then nothing for 4 minutes. Then Valdez's voice. Tight, controlled. Dispatch, I need another unit here immediately. Requesting supervisor. Female victim unconscious. Visible injuries. Male in custody. Officer Paulson is also being detained. Everything exploded. Supervisor grabbed radio. Unit 17, clarify. Officer detained? Valdez responded. Supervisor, Officer Paulson attempted to prevent me from entering residence. Female victim inside has severe injuries. Male subject claims she fell. Injuries inconsistent with fall. Paulson was ordering me to leave scene. I'm detaining everyone pending investigation. Multiple units dispatched. Supervisor, Lieutenant, Captain. Ambulance rushed Jennifer Kessler to hospital. Detectives arrived. Thomas Kessler arrested for domestic violence. Derek Paulson placed on administrative leave. Investigation opened. I sat at my workstation shaking. If Valdez hadn't been dispatched, if she hadn't insisted on entering, Jennifer Kessler would be dead, and Paulson would have called it accident or medical episode, like he'd done before. How many times before? The investigation moved fast once it started. Sterling got involved, subpoenaed records. Jennifer Kessler survived. Skull fracture, broken ribs, internal bleeding. She'd been beaten badly, unconscious when Valdez found her. Thomas Kessler claimed she fell downstairs. Medical evidence proved assault. Jennifer woke up 4 days later. Advocates were there. She finally talked, told everything. Thomas had been abusing her for 2 years. She'd called 911 4 times. Derek Paulson responded every time. Every time, Paulson told Thomas about the call before interviewing Jennifer. Every time, Thomas threatened her while Paulson waited outside. Every time, Paulson cleared the scene without proper investigation. She was trapped, terrified. Certain police wouldn't help because police were helping Thomas. Jennifer revealed more. Thomas had information on Paulson. Evidence of misconduct from years ago when they were partners. Evidence of planted drugs, false arrests, witness intimidation. Thomas held that over Paulson. Made him respond to Jennifer's calls. Made him cover up abuse, blackmail, and conspiracy. Both officers corrupt. One actively violent. One enabling violence to protect himself. Detectives investigated the other addresses. The ones with repeated Paulson responses. Found 3 more women. All married to men with connections to Paulson or Thomas Kessler. All experiencing abuse. All unable to get help because Paulson controlled police response. All terrified into silence. The system designed to protect them had been weaponized against them. The prosecutor built massive case. conspiracy, official misconduct, domestic violence, obstruction, blackmail. Evidence included my dispatch logs, call recordings, response patterns, victim testimony. Thomas Kessler faced 15 charges. Derek Paulson faced 12, both held without bail. Flight risk and danger to victims. I testified before grand jury, explained call patterns, explained how impossible the response distribution was, explained Jennifer's initial distress call and Paulson's interference, explained systematic violation of protocol. Grand jury indicted both men on all charges. Trial took 8 weeks. I attended every day, watched Jennifer testify, watched other victims testify, watched them describe being beaten, calling for help, having that help intercepted by corrupt officer working with their abusers, watched defense attorneys try to discredit them, try to claim they were lying, exaggerating, seeking attention. The call recordings proved otherwise. My dispatch logs proved otherwise. Medical records proved otherwise. Jury convicted Thomas Kessler on 14 of 15 charges. Convicted Derek Paulson on 11 of 12 charges. Sentencing was harsh. Thomas got 32 years for aggravated domestic violence, conspiracy, and witness intimidation. Paulson got 25 years for official misconduct, conspiracy, and obstruction. Judge made statement. Officer Paulson betrayed his oath and weaponized his position to enable violence against vulnerable women. His actions represent the most egregious abuse of public trust. These women called for help and he ensured they remained trapped with their abusers. This court shows no mercy for such betrayal. I sat in courtroom feeling nothing. No satisfaction, no relief, just emptiness. Jennifer Kessler survived but was permanently disabled. Traumatic brain injury from beating, memory problems, chronic pain, physical therapy for years ahead. One victim had attempted suicide after final failed call to 911. Survived but psychologically shattered. Another left the state, abandoned her home and career, fled to escape husband she couldn't get arrested. The system had failed them all, and I'd been part of that system. Department conducted internal review, found multiple failures. Dispatch protocols not enforced, response patterns not monitored. No oversight on repeated single officer responses to same addresses. Supervisors had accepted officer reports without verification. No follow-up on victims who recanted. No flagging of suspicious patterns. They implemented reforms, new protocols, better monitoring, additional training, created victim advocate liaisons, required supervisor review of all domestic calls cleared without arrest. Better than nothing. Too late for Jennifer and the others. Captain offered me commendation, recognition for identifying pattern and reporting it. I refused. I didn't want commendation. I wanted time machine. Wanted to go back to Jennifer's first call 2 years ago. Wanted to catch the pattern then. Wanted to save her from 2 years of beatings and brain damage. But I couldn't. I'd been looking at individual calls, processing emergencies one at a time, moving to next call, never stepping back to see larger pattern until it was almost too late. I tried returning to work, sat at my workstation, headset on, ready for calls. First call came in. 911, what's your emergency? Female voice, scared, reporting intruder. I extracted information, dispatched officers, followed protocol. Call ended. I sat staring at screen, started pulling previous calls from that address, checking response patterns, checking officer names, looking for anomalies. Second call came. Medical emergency, chest pain. I dispatched ambulance, asked standard questions, kept caller calm. But part of my mind was elsewhere, wondering if caller had previous medical calls, wondering if response patterns showed anything suspicious, wondering what I was missing. Third call, traffic accident, minor injuries, dispatch police and ambulance, extract witness information, clear call. But I couldn't stop analyzing, checking connections, looking for patterns. Every call became potential conspiracy. Every officer response became potential corruption. Every caller became potential victim of systematic failure. I couldn't just answer calls anymore. Couldn't trust the system to work. Couldn't believe officers would follow protocol. Couldn't accept anything at face value. My hands started shaking. Vision blurred. Panic attack. Full blown. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Just terror. Supervisor noticed. Pulled me off console. Took me to break room. Alex, you need to take time off. What you went through, what you discovered, that's traumatic. You can't just keep working like nothing happened. I tried arguing. Said I was fine. Said I just needed a minute to recover. But I wasn't fine. Hadn't been fine since Jennifer's call. Since I realized the system could be corrupted so thoroughly. Since I understood that calling 911 didn't guarantee help. Sometimes it guaranteed the opposite. I took medical leave. 2 weeks. Spent it at home trying to process everything. Tried therapy, PTSD diagnosis, occupational trauma, moral injury from discovering systematic evil within system meant to protect people. Therapist explained I'd experienced multiple traumas. Betrayal by institution I trusted. Helplessness in face of corruption. Guilt over victims who'd been failed before I caught pattern. Recovery would take time. I tried returning after 2 weeks. Lasted 4 hours. Every call triggered anxiety. Every dispatch felt like potential death sentence for caller. Every officer response felt like potential cover-up. I couldn't function. Couldn't trust my own judgment. Couldn't trust the system I was supposed to operate within. I resigned effective immediately. 6 years of career ended because I'd discovered one officer was corrupt and had spent 2 years enabling domestic violence. Captain tried convincing me to stay, said I was valuable, said I'd done important work, said department needed people who cared enough to catch problems. But I couldn't stay. Couldn't answer another emergency call. Couldn't send help that might not actually be help. Couldn't tell frightened callers that officers were coming when I couldn't trust those officers to do their jobs correctly. I went home and disconnected my home phone. Couldn't stand hearing phone rings. Couldn't answer calls from anyone. Changed cell number. Gave new number to only 3 people. Family members who understood I couldn't handle unexpected calls. Started having nightmares. Answering 911 calls in dreams. Dispatching officers who arrived and made situations worse. Callers begging for help while I watched corrupt responders enable their abusers. Jennifer Kessler's voice in every dream. Careful, controlled, terrified, saying she couldn't leave, he wouldn't let her. And me sending Paulson to clear the scene, over and over. I avoided phones completely, saw people talking on phones and felt nauseated, changed career entirely, got job in library, quiet, no emergencies, no life or death decisions, no trusting others to help vulnerable people, just books and silence, safe. My coworkers didn't know my background, didn't know I'd been 911 dispatcher who exposed corrupt officer. I was just Alex who worked reference desk, better that way, less complicated. I stayed in touch with Sterling. He called every few months to update me. Appeals were denied. Both men remained in prison. Jennifer was living with her sister, continuing therapy, slowly improving but would never fully recover. The other victims were scattered, some rebuilding lives, some still shattered, all permanently changed by their experiences. Sterling said my work had mattered, said exposing corruption had prevented future victims, said I'd saved lives. I appreciated his words, but they didn't heal the damage, didn't give me back my career, didn't stop the nightmares, didn't let me answer phones again. 3 years after trial, I saw a news story. Police department had arrested another officer. Different precinct, different crimes, but similar pattern. Domestic violence calls cleared without proper investigation. Victim finally came forward after near-fatal beating. Investigation revealed 3-year pattern of interference. I read the story and felt sick. It was happening again. Different officer, different victims, same systematic failure, same corruption of protective system, same betrayal, and I couldn't do anything about it. Wasn't dispatcher anymore, couldn't identify patterns, couldn't help, could only read news and feel helpless. Jennifer Kessler reached out 4 years after trial, sent letter through Sterling. She tracked me down, wanted to thank me, said my work had saved her life. Said even though she had permanent disabilities, she was alive because I'd noticed pattern and reported it. Said I was hero. I read her letter 5 times, cried for an hour. I wasn't hero. I was dispatcher who'd taken too long to see what was happening, who'd processed her first call 2 years earlier and never questioned why same officer kept responding, who'd needed 4 calls before catching pattern, who'd almost been too late. She'd called for help 4 times. I'd only helped on the 4th call. That wasn't heroic. That was failure followed by barely adequate response. But her letter mattered, meant something, showed that despite permanent damage, she'd survived and found some measure of peace, more than I'd managed. 5 years later, I still can't answer phones, still work at library, still avoid anything related to emergency services, still have nightmares about Jennifer's voice, her careful words, her fear, sending Paulson to help her, watching him clear scene, knowing she remained trapped with violent husband because corrupt officer enabled that violence. The system failed her repeatedly before I caught it, and I was part of that system. Captain called me last month, first time in 3 years. Department wanted me to speak at training, share my experience, help new dispatchers understand importance of pattern recognition and proper protocols. I said no. Couldn't do it. Couldn't stand in room full of dispatchers and pretend I'd recovered. Pretend I could answer emergency calls again. Pretend the system worked if you just followed procedures. Because Jennifer followed procedure. She called 911, did everything right. And the system sent her a corrupt officer who ensured she remained trapped. Procedures meant nothing when people within system were corrupt. Captain understood. Didn't push. Said if I ever changed my mind, offer stood. I won't change my mind. Can't go back. Can't participate in system I no longer trust. The cost of exposing corruption was higher than anyone tells you. Not just immediate trauma, not just career loss. The permanent damage of knowing that protective systems can be corrupted. That calling for help doesn't guarantee help arrives. That badges don't equal integrity. That you can do everything right and still fail victims until it's almost too late. Jennifer's call comes back to me constantly. Her voice, her careful words. I can't leave. He won't let me. She was telling me everything, asking for help, trusting the system. And I sent her the one officer who would ensure she got no help, who would leave her trapped, who would enable her abuse. I did that, following protocol, trusting officers, believing the system worked. I was wrong. And she paid the price, for 2 more years, until brain damage and near death finally forced the truth into light. That's why I disconnected my phone. That's why I never answered another emergency. Because I learned that answering emergency calls, dispatching help, trusting the system can result in victims getting hurt worse because corrupt people weaponize protective systems. And I can't participate in that anymore. Can't risk failing another Jennifer Kessler. Can't carry more guilt. Can't answer more calls. The work destroyed something fundamental in me. The belief that systems work if operated correctly. The trust that help will actually help. The certainty that doing your job properly produces good outcomes. All gone. All shattered. 5 years later, permanently damaged, just existing, unable to return to work I was good at, because one case showed me how thoroughly systems can fail. Showed me that calling 911 doesn't guarantee rescue. Sometimes it guarantees the opposite. And I can't unknow that. Can't answer another emergency call knowing it might lead to systematic failure. So I don't. I work at library and avoid phones and live with nightmares and permanent damage from case where I almost failed to catch corruption before it killed someone. Jennifer survived. Barely. With permanent disabilities. That's the win. That's the justice. But victories that come with traumatic brain injury and destroyed careers don't feel victorious. They feel like everyone lost. Just some people survived their losses. That's all. If you enjoyed this, you'll definitely want to see the next ones too. So subscribe now and let me know your take in the comments.